Praise be Jesus Christ. Whenever I would sit down with a family to prepare for the funeral of their deceased loved ones, one of the first things that I ask would be, what was his passion or her passion in life? Then you would hear, "Oh, Father, her passion was her family, her grandchildren," or her passion was gardening. She loved gardening. She would spend hours tending to the garden. Or his passion is baseball or football or collecting whatever. Passions are the strongest emotions that drives a person into something and gives a person virtues or vices, but also a sense of vision and mission in life. Passion is a gift from God. It gives us a sense of what we are and what we should be about. In our second reading today, St. James tells that, "Where do the wars and where do the conflicts among you come from? Is it not from your passions that make war within your members?" Passions are good, but if they are misled, they lead us to vices. It is a fact that in our own country, the first reason for these empty pews is organized sports. Sports is a good passion, but if it becomes the center of one's life, and then the parents allow the children to make sports the center of their lives, hence families are somewhere else on Sunday morning rather than worshiping the presence of God in the community. Sports is one of the biggest fallout in our faith nowadays. There are a lot of passions out there. Politics is a gift from God. But when politics becomes God, that's where all the wars and jealousy and selfish ambitions and disorder and every foul practice comes from, that St. James talks about in our second reading. Do Black lives matter? Black lives matter because every life matters. But then we have this organized group of people whose agenda is to uphold that Black lives matter. And yet this organization is the one who promotes an agenda that tells us that not all lives matter. There's passion there. The passion is a gift from God, and yet it was abused. In our gospel today, the followers of Jesus, his very disciples and apostles, were discussing, while the Lord was talking about his coming passion, they were discussing among them who is the greatest. So even in the first bishops of the church, the apostles themselves, they were already politicking. The Lord tells them, if anyone wishes to be first, he shall be last of all and servant of all. Dear brothers and sisters, please discover your passion. Whatever the passion is, it has to be centered in the person of Jesus. Whether it's politics, whether it's sports, whether it's gardening, whether it's collecting something, it better be centered in Jesus. Taking a little child, he placed it in their midst, and putting his arms around it, he said to them, whoever receives one child such as this in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives not me, but the one who sent me. This is not about children, but it's a good analogy, right? It is an analogy. But it's not focused on children alone, but rather on the character that children has. Children always sees a person simply, a person. If you are a parent, notice your child where you're coming home. Just the sheer joy of seeing mom or dad come home. There's no other agenda. I remember as a little child, always excited to see dad coming. We didn't have cars. We walked. So you would see dad coming from afar, and we would get ready to get his slippers so that when he takes off his shoes, we're ready for him to be with us. That's what children do. They see people simply who they are. There's no agenda to use them. There's no agenda to utilize them. Just to see people who they are. Just like God, He sees us and He delights in us because He made us in His own image and likeness. Where do the wars and where do the conflicts among you come from? Is it not from your passions that make war within your members? And yet, in these very passions, when centered not in how we can use others or how I can uphold myself or my ego, but on how I can give my life when centered in Jesus. These very passions are the ones who would give us the wisdom from above, which is first of all pure, then peaceable, gentle, compliant, full of mercy and good fruits, without inconstancy or insincerity, as St. James tells us. The fruit of righteousness is sown in peace for those who cultivate peace. Today, this morning, let us ask our Lord to see ourselves the way He sees us, created in beauty as His beloved sons and daughters, and in seeing ourselves the way God sees us, that we may see each other the way He sees us, the beautiful persons that we are, the crown of His creation, heirs and heiresses of His kingdom, so that we may be pure, peaceable, gentle, compliant, full of mercy and good fruits, without inconstancy or insincerity.